Hello and welcome to the Last Edit podcast, a podcast on film every week, starring yours truly, Citizen Sleeve, and my quite amazing friend,
Silver Hawkins.
Now, for those who don't know, this is a weekly film podcast where Silver and I alternate between different selections of films, and then we take a bit of a deep dive into those films. Those films are often quite obscure, although we are covering random Netflix films which are popping up and appearing right now. It's quite amazing. We're going to be getting to some of those. And this week, we kind of decided between us this one, didn't we? Because we were a bit unsure.
Yeah.
We wanted one that was a bit like White Fang. Yeah, you screwed that up, by the way. Bit like White Fang. God damn.
No, it is a bit.
So this week, we're going to be taking a look at The Bear from 1988, directed by Jean-Jacques Annaud. I didn't realise until I checked, just prior to the podcast, directors' names, etc., that, and I will get this wrong because I always do, and you always have to correct me. Tchéky Karyo is in it, apparently.
I have no idea who that is. So.
You know the actor. I probably just murdered his name. That's probably what happened. Okay, so The Bear. Let's very quick, brief narrative introduction. It's really quite simple. A bear cub is with its mother, and its mother dies via a rock slide, and the bear cub is obviously then parentless, and goes on a little journey to, I don't know, try and find another parent or just survive. And in the midst of this, there is bear hunters who are taking down pelts and taking down bears with them, and basically stalking these bears. And the cub comes across what we discovered watching the film, which you already knew and I did not. The most prolific animal actor I have ever bear witness to, and the bear witness is entirely appropriate here because that is Bart the Bear. And
Yeah.
he has been in countless films. We found out, like has he got like 10 or 11?
This was his breakout movie, the movie that really cemented him as the go-to bear. Whenever you needed to make a film with a bear in it, you went to Bart the Bear.
You went to Bart the Bear, who rocks, and you should totally IMDb and check out YouTube for Bart the Bear. He's amazing. But he was in White Fang, The Edge with Anthony Hopkins, all kinds of stuff, which is just amazing. And I fully suspect Silver and I will be doing a Bart the Bear podcast at some point because he's that important. Right. Okay. So that's that out of the way. What did you think of The Bear?
Well, I mean, I remember The Bear when it came out in '88. Like, it's a movie that was very, very much talked about. Like, there were posters for it everywhere in the movie theater. Like movie specials on television. Like, we had like there was a weekly film show or whatever you want to call it, like film review show and so forth, that talked about it as well, where it was heavily focused. And just there was a lot of talk about it because of how it went for the like it's a non-traditional narrative in that it's a bit like a wildlife documentary in that you only really, the narrative centers around the bear cub, and the bear cub doesn't really speak, although it kind of does, but it doesn't have any like dialogue or anything. They aren't anthropomorphic animals to that extent that we see in like animated movies and stuff. Like the bear is basically just going through the narrative with things happening to them, and you're able to surmise what the relationships are and how they're formed and how they interact with each other, just by how the animals act towards one another, quite literally. Like the stuff they're able to get these bears to do, because they're actual bears in the movie. They're actual animal actors. The biggest one being Bart the Bear, who's an enormous Kodiak grizzly bear. Like, really, he's just awe-inspiring. Like the scene where he just unleashes and roars at this guy who is practically wetting himself is, I think, the best scene in the entire movie. And really, you sense that, you get that sense of absolute awe from that bear as it just unleashes it's the primal strength, power, all of that. But yeah, I remembered it being like, more traditional than it ended up being, because it was a bit of a bizarre experience in places, because they do kind of make a cop out. It's like they didn't have full belief, full confidence in the idea of the narrative just following the bear, and that being enough for the audience. That they needed to sort of anthropomorphize the animal somehow. So the bear cub gets these really, really weird sounds. And it was sounded off for me immediately. The moment I heard it, it's like it's a kid that goes me 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 me. And there are even moments in the movie.
It's almost like Beaker from the goddamn Muppets at times.
Yeah, and there are even moments where it goes like ooh ah and stuff. And it's like there's no way a bear sounds like that.
It's so weird. Like we were watching it, and the photography is beautiful. You know, the wilderness is amazing. The animals look great. And then the bear starts making noises, and it sounds like a 4-year-old child. It was weird.
Yeah.
And the sound in this film is a very mixed bag. The dubbing
is by far the weakest. The dubbing is basically on the level of a spaghetti western. Like aside from the bears, we also kind of follow a group of fur trappers who are basically hunting the bears. And they have dialogue, so there is a bit of dialogue in the movie. But their dialogue is entirely dubbed, like it would be in a spaghetti western, with the same sort of really, really noticeable dubbing quality.
Loose lip syncing and kind of really, really like bad audio quality. And oh god,
precisely. Yeah. But I mean, I think for my part, I kind of got used to that the same way you do in a spaghetti western, where it just became part of the movie. And it ultimately wasn't all that noticeable, but yeah. I mean, audio is by far not the movie's strong suit. It is by far the greatest weakness. You touched on what I think is the movie's greatest strength, which is the cinematography. Like, there are some really interesting shots, the way they're composited, like the way they're set up, where the camera is basically still, and then the bear just comes into the shot. Like that's a method they use repeatedly, and I think with great effect. It's a really beautiful, and I mean it was shot across 2 different continents. It was shot in North America, British Columbia, and it was shot in Europe, in near the Alps, in Austria and in Italy, in the Apennines as well, like the mountains, and it just like it sells that frontier sense really, really well. It delivers really well in that, I think. But yeah, basically, like you said, the bear basically loses his mother. It meets another grizzly bear, kind of gets adopted by the adult grizzly bear, which is fairly unusual, because if a bear cub runs into an adult male grizzly, chances are it's going to get eaten by the adult male grizzly, traditionally. Like, they had to condition Bart, the adult bear actor, to where he wouldn't eat the cub actor by first introducing him to like a teddy bear, like a plush toy, and basically conditioning him with that to where he would tolerate the bear cub. But yeah, it was really weird reconnecting with it, also because there are these I had completely forgotten about the dream sequences. They're like the bear
nightmare fuel almost.
The bear cub has a couple of dream sequences where it goes to sleep and then it dreams. And like the first dream sequence is after it's tried to catch a frog in the river and the frog's gotten away. He just couldn't catch him. And then it starts dreaming about frogs like invading it and chasing it, and it's done through stop motion. Like these stop motion models that move. It's really weird. And then later on, the second dream sequence is after the bear cub comes across the mushrooms, starts eating them, and then it basically trips out on acid. Has an acid trip.
That was unexpected.
It's stop motion as well, which is I mean it is certainly entertaining, and not what I expected, and not what I remembered at all from having seen it back in the day. Like, I only saw it that one time, I think, when I was a child. And I think really what left the impact was just the nature scenes and the wildlife aspect of it.
Yeah, in part, It's a classical observational documentary almost. The shots are set up in that way, as you said, beautiful landscapes, and the animals will come into the still frame and they'll move from there. Um, I did have a little problem. I said to you at the time, the occasional zooms they were using.
They use frequent zooms, yeah.
Yeah, and they're a bit too quick, and they don't do anything. I'm not personally a massive fan of using that unless it's used for a very particular emphasis, and an overuse of zooms I don't think works very well. But by and large, all that's great. Let's just get back to the human sounding bear cub and the nightmare dreams. This is where this movie took some kind of weird left turn and then went back to the right again. I had no idea. Like, we've seen a lot of films together now, and this is one of the oddest for not the reasons I expected. Like, I mean, you'd seen it before and I hadn't, and I think you'd obviously locked away this film, The Bear, in the it's just a lovely story about a bear meeting an older bear, a surrogate father. It's a lovely story. And then you get back and watch it again, and there's so many oddities in it. I mean, the dubbing for one, the soundtrack, the music is all over the place at times. The freaky bear human hybrid voice thing, like bears becoming human by osmosis or something. I don't know. And then these nightmare dreams. That frog one, I honestly, if they could have got the budget for it, they might as well have just gone and got like Paul McCartney's frog chorus and played it in the background.
It's funny because after he made like Anno made a number of movies in like the early 80s that basically established him as a director. Like one of them being The Quest for Fire, which is a movie about the Stone Age, which is also not super, from what I remember, not very heavy on the dialogue, because it basically stars Neanderthals. And after the success of that movie, like production companies basically went to him and said, "Yeah, we believe in you. We're going to give you a blank check to make whatever movie you want." And he then went on to he then got involved with he put that project on standby because he then got involved with making In the Name of the Rose with Michael Caine and Sean Connery. And then he went back to that project with sort of that basically had limitless funding for the time. Which was really, I find fascinating that they on the basis of basically The Quest for Fire, they basically just hand him a blank check and say, "Yeah, you can make whatever you want." And then basically Arnold goes, I want to try and make a movie with no dialogue, basically, like a non-traditional narrative. And then someone hands him the book. It's kind of based on a novel that I haven't read and don't remember the title of. I think like The Grizzly King, I think it is. The title of the book it's adapted from. And someone handed him that book, and that's basically how the movie got into existence. But yeah, it basically had limitless budget, apparently, which might help explain like where the stop motion
we've got an extra 100,000 here.
We can burn, yeah.
And should we make the bear have dreams? Shall we? Is that a good idea? Does that work for you? Yeah, well, hey, do it. Spend the money.
I mean, and today we get Dr. Dolittle with a budget of $175 million. So.
Yep, and it releases, and goes, woo!
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you know? I've got a weird. Yeah, I know. Who didn't see that coming? Quite frankly, but yeah, I strangely like this film. I doubt I'll ever watch it again.
I think there's a lot to admire about it.
Yeah.
I do.
Bart the Bear, for one. I mean, he is quite astonishing in this.
Not just him, but the bear cub too.
Yeah, bear cub is great as well. Yeah, if we could hear the bear's actual diegetic sounding bear voice, that'd be great. But apart from that, the actual bear performance is really, really good. I really the scene you talked about. I really like that scene with one of the hunters who has been trapped by the bear. Bart the Bear stalked him basically because he shot at him and hurt him. And he finds him. It's like the edge of a cliff's kind of perched on the end, and Bart can't quite reach him. And this guy's cowering and shivering in the corner, and he decides to kind of just leave it be. He can't be bothered reaching that far on the end. I just think that is great. He stands up tall and magnificent. And roars at the guy.
Roars straight into the camera.
Yeah, oh, it's so good. It's so talented. The trainers and the animals together, the talent it requires to get. I mean, we're talking about bears have some of the biggest brute strength on
I mean,
Earth. They're
the director
dangerous
Annaud
animals.
Basically got mauled by Bart, not purposefully by Bart. Like they were trying to like set up for a picture, and Bart just basically scratched his back, and that was it. Like off to surgery you go.
Yeah, not good.
Because I mean,
Not good.
that the bear paw of that Kodiak grizzly is like the size of your face.
Oh yeah, massive.
Yeah.
You know, one strike from a bear and you're screwed. That's it. It's done. So to have the ability to train and work with such dangerous animals on a set like that is to be commended, and the results are really. I think that's my favorite part of the film, along with the cinematography, the animal performances.
Like
They're just
the practical effects and the animal performances. Yeah.
Yeah, the practical effects are absolutely great, and everything works really, really well on screen. And I like wildlife documentaries and observational documentaries. So it was not, having that kind of window onto something, and that's what this film does very often. It has that window, and then it goes batshit crazy, and it breaks the window and throws something through the window, and that something is the frog chorus and crazy nightmare acid dreamed fueled. What
Well, the movie is French.
That does go some way.
Significant, like, streak of surrealism, I think it is.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to give a bear dreams, to make those dreams that, I mean, weird. I think people should just watch this once. It just have curiosity. I mean, if you remember it as a kid, like Silver does, just check it out again, and you'll see what I mean.
I mean, also, it's not super long. It's I think 80 minutes.
Was it?
Yeah.
So it's pretty snappy. And just as a curiosity, as an oddity, for something that seems so innocuous when you suggested it, Silver, is something very, very different. And I think it's worth watching just for that alone. But yeah, if you like wildlife documentaries and you like beautiful scenery,
I mean, it's very much not a 2020 film.
No. No. It's more like
It's very much a movie of its time.
Oh, it's very 80s. It's very, very 80s. Even the stop motion is like Peter Gabriel passed on it, so they got like the ninth person down the line or whatever. They got a bunch of 12-year-olds together and right, make frogs. So yeah, I would recommend this to people who want a bit of a weirdly good time, enjoy wildlife, and now and again want to go, what? Just bear in mind, though, the cubs' weird human noises are...
Apparently its sound effects are made from kids and monkeys. So
because the bear wasn't there or anything. I mean, they couldn't have just recorded the Foley sound of the bear.
Yeah, I have no idea. I guess maybe they didn't feel like it conveyed enough emotion that they needed, or...
Yeah, as you said, they probably wanted to
they lack faith in the bears themselves just being able to deliver like the emotion they wanted. So they needed these like emotional sounds, human-like sounds from them.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work at all.
No, it does not. Just a bad choice, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Bad choice. Okay, so that's The Bear. I don't know what else to say about it. It's crazy. It's such a weird film. And the film, I mean, it's just all over the place, isn't it? Okay. So anyway, just watch it once. Just do us a favour and watch it once.
Yeah, and then we can talk about the dream sequences together.
Yeah, then we can talk about the dream sequences properly with you, and you can see exactly what the hell we're on about. But yeah,
you should actually watch just the dream, like maybe light up some herbal remedies and just watch the dream sequences.
Some incense. Oh man. They should be just shown on their own, shouldn't they? Little vignettes or something. Okay, so that was The Bear from 1988. Go watch it once because, why not? Next week is Silver's Choice, and we've both seen this film now, and we won't spoil anything, but I was really impressed by it. So, Silver, what are we going to be watching next week?
We are going to be watching another French film. This is another French animated film, like The Triplets of Belleville. It's one called I Lost My Body, J'ai perdu mon corps. It was the first movie it showed at Cannes last year. was actually the first animated movie to ever win the jury's grand prize at Cannes.
Which is quite an achievement. Which is, I should just say, you know, if you're au fait with Cannes, that's a really big achievement.
Yeah, and deservedly so, I think, because I think it's actually the best movie from last year that I've seen, certainly. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it. So I hope you guys will join us for that.
Yeah, thank you for watching. This has been the Last Edit podcast. Don't forget that we are on Spotify and Anchor and iTunes and YouTube, and I'm catching up slowly with the audio stuff compared to the video stuff. Whether we'll ever get there, I don't bloody know. Probably at some point, years down the road. But yeah, thank you for watching. This has been the Last Edit podcast. I have been Citizen Sleeve. This has been
Silver Hawkins.
And we will catch you on the film flip side.
Take care, guys.